All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. And today we got a very exciting and informative video. I haven't done an upload in a while because I've been actually just spending majority of my time crunching and studying and trying to digest all the information, all the flow of information that's coming in right now, in particular regarding the Hunter Biden emails, the Hunter Biden laptop and hard drives that is now blown up in the news. So we're going to go through that today. Like I said, I feel now I have enough information to talk confidently on the matter. So let's get into the backstory first. So there was hints and whispers on the internet for a while now. And anyone who's been paying attention and even listening to my Facebook feed, my Twitter feeds and stuff like that, we've been talking about an October surprise. Now, what exactly did we mean by the October surprise? We weren't 100% sure. We just knew. And it was kind of even almost somewhat guessing. Some of it was from intelligence, but we knew that something big was going to happen right before the election. You know, just look at 2016. We had the Hillary Clinton emails and stuff like that. All that incident happened right before the 2016 election. So we were anticipating something similar. And there was hints and whispers around the internet, whether it was the QAnon movement or people connected to the Trump administration saying, just wait, there's things coming, just wait. Now, there was half of the freedom-loving movement who thought that this was all just, they just were blowing smoke up our, you-know-what, and, they just kept telling us indictments are coming, October surprise, blah, 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 as a way to appease the freedom movement, to try to quell the anger within us. But now we're starting to see that the October surprise was actually very true, and we're starting to see what that surprise was, which is these Hunter Biden hard drives. So first, let's get off into some of the backstory of these. So there's a video, and I will do my best to take screenshots of all this stuff. There was a video that was taken back in September of a Chinese dissident, and he's basically explaining everything that you're seeing now back in September, that there's going to be these hard drives that come out, what was going to be on the hard drives, how they're going to incriminate the Biden family, blah, blah, blah. At the time, he also mentioned that there was sex tapes on these hard drives, and he also gave an explanation of how the hard drives came into the hands of the Western powers, the Trump administration, the Rudy Giuliani's and the Bannons and stuff like that of today. And that's kind of where I put out my my Facebook message and my tweet is I didn't, and I still don't, I'm still hesitant to believe the official story that Hunter Biden supposedly dropped off his laptop to go and get fixed at a local computer hardware shop when this man has millions and millions and millions of dollars, and his father even more, that he would take his laptop with such incriminating information down to a local repairman who he doesn't know and get him to, hey, will you take a look at this and try to fix it? Knowing that, usually a computer repairman that's fixing a computer has to go through the contents of it sometimes, or by accident stumbles across that stuff. So when I heard the official story, and it's still being run as that official story right now of how they obtained the laptop, to me, it doesn't make sense. To me, it smells. And there's either two things. If the official story is true, that Hunter Biden himself took the laptop to the computer repair shop, then that just tells me Hunter Biden sabotaged himself, that his situation that he was in was so awful, that he had such disdain for his father, for what he put him through and what he put him as his middleman, basically, the money go-getter, that he wanted to basically turn on the family and sabotage himself. That's possible, but what a way to sabotage yourself by literally showing you doing criminal activities, lewd activities, pedophilic activities that'll most likely get Hunter Biden put in jail. So I'm not too quick to jump on the bandwagon that, Hunter Biden just set himself up, he turned it in the computer shop, or, he was so drunk he forgot he left it there. To me, that story doesn't make sense. What makes more sense to me, logically, and just studying how geopolitics works and how the intelligence community works, what made more sense to me is what the original Chinese person in the video, and I'll show you the screenshot. You guys can go watch that video for yourself. Like I said, it's taking place back in September. What he said first made a lot more sense, that actually, in reality, the election was getting closer and closer to the date. Joe Biden wasn't doing very good in the debates, and it was looking like Trump was going to have a victory. And the Chinese CCP, along with other intelligent networks around the world, but in particular the CCP, who had these hard drives as a blackmail operation, as a blackmail tool that they could use. And let me just go on a side tangent here about blackmailing. So what an easy way to, as a foreign power, China, as a way to control America, right? Like I said in many videos before, you're not going to roll Chinese troops up on the shores, start attacking America, and try to take over the way of life by force, okay? Chinese are going to use dirty-handed tactics. And when I say Chinese, this is not an attack on the Chinese people. When I say Chinese, I'm directing all this towards the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, the few million people in that party who run and manage the 1.8 billion Chinese people underneath their country. And I want to see the Chinese people be not be enslaved anymore. I would like to see freedom and democracy sweep into China and actually start looking like a Western nation rather than an authoritarian dictatorship like they are. But side note, let's go back to the blackmail. So blackmailing is a tool that has been used for centuries. This is what Jeffrey Epstein was all about. This is why there was a big cover-up of that and why he got killed in a jail cell, strangled to death. We all know Epstein didn't kill himself. That's the meme going. This is why he got killed, because what he had was so damaging. That man could maybe go and give access to hard drives that he himself had, which would have incriminated, now we're knowing, Prince Andrew and all these other celebrities and stuff. So that's how the modern world works. The modern world works through compromising and through blackmail. This is also ties into the whole Skull and Bones. If you watch the documentaries on Skull and Bones and these Yale universities and the male groups and stuff like that, what do you ever call it? I forget the name for it. But basically, yeah, the whole concept of that was they would go lay in a coffin in front of a bunch of other of them in these groups, these Skull and Bone male groups. They would lay down on the coffin. They would all jerk off on the guy laying in the coffin. The guy in the coffin might be jerking off too, who knows? And they would basically, the guy in the coffin would tell them his most deepest, darkest secrets as a way to compromise himself and compromise himself to all the other people, to initiate himself into the Skull and Bones group. Because the reason why they did that is a way to blackmail each other. That they weren't going to go and rat each other out for all the crazy things that they're doing and the corruption and illegal acts, because if they did, well, they'd be able to say, haha, remember that time we jerked off on you in a casket, or blah, 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 and you told us this and this, you're cheating on your wife, or you're into pedophilia, or whatever the kinks are that these people are, whatever the secret was being told that day for the initiation. So this is the whole thing. This is how these secret societies work. This is how these groups work, through compromising each other and through blackmail operations. So that's what Jeffrey Epstein was, and it was just a tip of the iceberg, okay? We basically tripped over something very large when we stumbled on the Jeffrey Epstein thing, but that's how you've seen it was very quickly washed through the media's stories. It's not really talked about anymore, and now we're on to the bigger things. Well, this is the same tactics that was being used against Hunter Biden and the Joe Biden family. Blackmail tactics to compromise themselves, right? Because if you got the president of the United States, let's say Trump lost and Biden won, and now you as the CCP have hard drives of the president's son smoking crack, banging children, raping kids, brutalizing stuff, doing a lot of things that compromises that individual. Maybe you even have dirt on the president himself, hypothetically, if it was Joe Biden. That gives you leverage. That gives you power over that individual. Maybe now when you go to the table and say, hey, Joe Biden, let's negotiate the new China trade deal or the tariffs that Trump put all in place. Well, maybe now when you show Joe Biden, hey, look, I got your son smoking crack. I got your son doing illegal activities, banging hookers, prostituting underage children. Let's make sure we do a really good deal that benefits us rather than you. Well, that's how this stuff gets used. And we understand now that when you're in the power of the president of the United States, the power you have over other nations, the money that you could either enrich them with or take from them through tariffs and stuff, we're talking billions and billions of dollars. So you're damn right people do very crazy and very dirty-handed tactics when it comes to things involving billions and billions of dollars. So this all makes sense to me. So they had these hard drives, okay? Now, whether they got them by hacking means or they literally invited Hunter Biden over to China, started partying with a bunch of them, the members of the Communist Party. They get him drunk, they get him on the crack, whether they do that, because he's already addicted to those things. And then they say, hey, you want to have some hookers? Maybe he goes and has some hookers. And then maybe they say, hey, you also want to screw these kids and rape these kids, blah, 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 blah. And he goes and does that, and then they secretly film it, and then bam, that's how they got him. Whether they did it that way, by setting him up and creating the situation in which they filmed him to have the blackmail and the compromising dirt on Hunter Biden or the Biden family. Whether they did it that way, I don't know. I'm not unsure of. I'm still learning. I'm still researching, trying to figure out that. But that's regardless. It doesn't really matter whether they set the family up or they got it just by hacking his laptop and he already had this stuff on him. It's still, the evidence is still the evidence. So this is what happened. So they had this compromising stuff on them. We know the CCP has it. And if the CCP has it, and there's probably a lot of other intelligence agencies who have it. So the elections are rolling in. It's getting down to the wire. We're a few weeks out. It looks like Trump's going to win. What's the CCP do? They send copies of this blackmail material to the Department of Justice, to Nancy Pelosi, to the Democrat Party, maybe even to Hunter Biden, maybe even to Biden himself, to basically say, hey, as a reminder, look what we have. You better get your stuff in order. You better get out there on the campaign trail and do a better job. You better make sure you win this election and Joe Biden's the president, because if not, we're going to go public with all this stuff, because we know Trump's going to continue for the next 4 years beating the hell out of China, telling them that the virus was their fault, and that the way of life that they live is an authoritarian rule where they enslave the Chinese people. So knowing this, they sent the email, or they sent these hard drives over to Nancy Pelosi, to Joe Biden and all them, basically as a reminder, hey, don't forget, you better win at all costs. This is why you're also seeing such a frantic push for the Democratic Party to win. In previous elections, we've seen them use dirty-handed tactics, but this year alone, they've pulled out all the stops. They're willing to literally pack the Supreme Court. They're willing to contest the election. They're willing to try to do the mail-in voting strategies in order to do voter fraud with all those. So the tactics they're using in this election to make sure that Joe Biden wins seems very irrational, seems very in your face. Like the American people are going to wake up and realize what you guys are trying to do. Well, they know that, but they have no choice, because, when you have someone threatening to release a lot of dirty blackmail tapes on you, you're going to do whatever you got to do. And that's what you're seeing. That's why you see Nancy Pelosi and all of them acting the way that they are, is because they're compromised. That's what this all is about. So they send this stuff over to these officials, these Democrat leaders, and through the process of sending them that stuff, somehow, I'm still learning, I'm still trying to figure out how, but it got intercepted. Whether it was a whistleblower, whether it was another intelligence agent, whether it was people have handed it off to Trump's guys, I don't know how, but for somehow during that process, Trump's guys got a hold of the hard drives as well. And who did they get a hold of it? Who got a hold of it? Rudy Giuliani and Steve Bannon and stuff like that. Now, there's also a photo that was circulating, and you'll see it has a photo of the Chinese guy that I was talking about, who's talking about this stuff way back in September, and he's got his hand around Rudy Giuliani in the picture. And then creeping in the background, you have Steve Bannon lurking over his shoulder, and then also in the photo of in the mirror, the reflection, you have the Chinese virologist, Li Meng Yang, who is also a Chinese dissident who worked at the Hong Kong lab, I believe, and she was working as a virologist looking into the Wuhan virus, the China virus, the COVID-19 virus. And she basically has said, and it's what I've been saying since day one, if a virus gets leaked out of an area, and they're trying to say that, oh, this come out of a wet market, to me it was suspicion on day one, the fact that this virus got released in the same city that a level 4 lab exists. The Chinese virologist lab there, the Wuhan lab. You're telling me that this virus didn't leak out of there, where they're actually doing a lot of experiments on these deadly pathogens? You're telling me no, it come from the the wet market, to me, that story made no sense in the beginning. And you can also look through my Facebook feeds and my Twitter and see that from day one, I've been saying this thing was let out of the lab, not let out from the bats and stuff like that. Also, understanding what a coronavirus is. A coronavirus comes from a bat. And where do bats live? Bats live in dark areas. Bats live in caves. You know, the shoehorn bat, the one that they say that this strain of the virus came from, you know, this bat lives miles and miles and miles away from the city. You know, it's not just going to be flying around in daylight and spitting and pissing and biting someone in the Wuhan wet market. No, that's not how this thing got out. So what she was saying, Li Meng Yang, and I would encourage you to check out her interviews. A lot of them are being censored, including the one on Tucker Carlson, which is a major news channel. She basically said that this COVID-19, this China virus, was souped up in the lab, in this level 4 lab, as a bioweapon. That was the plan for this thing. Then you see Dr. Fauci and Bill Gates and all of them also spending millions of dollars in sending over to this lab to fund the research. So they're all in cahoots. And now I'm now understanding how this is all coming out and transpiring. So you got Trump, who's clearly kicking Biden's ass in the election. He's clearly going to win. I mean, just look at his rallies compared to Biden's rallies with the 6 little social distancing circles and nobody around and no enthusiasm. So what was Trump's winning pitch? His economy, right? You know, the guy was basically winning Super Bowls before the virus hit, before the Chinese virus was released. You know, his economy is doing great. Lowest unemployment in the African-American community. Lowest unemployment across the board. Stock market's doing great. 401k is doing great. So as a country's winning, you're not going to go then fire that guy who's making you win as a country and bring in someone who's been a politician for 47 years and who hasn't accomplished anything. So the writing was on the wall. Trump was going to win. So what did China do? What did the deep state do? When I say deep state, I mean the Democratic Party, the Nancy Pelosi's, the Chuck Schumers, the Obamas, the Obama holdovers, the Clappers, the Brennans, you know, all the people that work in the administration, and the people that have been there forever. You got to think. It went Bush Sr., you know, then Clinton and Bush Jr., you know, for generations now that I can remember, since I've been born, I'm 29 years old, these same families have held the presidency for decades. And they have remained in power, and Trump come along and took that away from them. You know, if Hillary Clinton had won versus Trump, then that's another one of the Clintons, another part of the Bush-Clinton-Obama crime family that would have stayed in office for another 4, potentially 8 years. So here comes Trump, throws a monkey wrench in their plan. He's winning, and looks like he's going to win again in 2020. So what do? They collude with the Chinese, and I think this is what you're going to see on one of the other hard drives, as one of the Chinese dissident in the video talked about, that they let this virus out on purpose as a way to affect the global economy, okay? It was designed that way, to bring in tyranny, to bring in the social distancing, to bring in the muzzles, to condition you, to weaken the immune system, to bring in the forced vaccination, to bring in the control, all the things that came along with the lockdown of the virus. That was all strategic and planned. Mark my words, it'll come out in history. And this makes this even more so damning and even more so reason why these people need to go to jail for what they've done. Because they literally, think of how many trillions of dollars, you know, I always say this every day, that the virus may kill, let's say, a couple 100,000 people. But the amount of people who will die of starvation over the next couple years will be hundreds of millions from shutting down the global economy. So they released this virus as a way to stump Trump, as a way to destroy his economy, his biggest selling feature for winning in the next upcoming election. Well, it didn't work, and now they had to also use other dirty-handed tactics. So they send this hard drives over. It gets in the hands of Trump. And some key characters I would encourage you guys to go watch right now to get a lot of this information. Obviously, Steve Bannon's War Room Pandemic. You know, he's obviously a good one to listen to right now because he's personally involved and knows a lot of this material. Also, Rudy Giuliani, you know, the mayor of the United States, basically the former mayor of New York. Also, his show, Common Sense with Rudy, getting a lot of this information from the horse's mouth himself. I would encourage you to listen to interviews from Li Meng Yang, the virologist from China, the whistleblower, talking about how the virus is man-made. And then I would also encourage you to talk to Guo Wengguan, I think is how they say it. He is a exiled Chinese real estate billionaire. And he's also a very interesting person that it's only come on my record in the last little while that I've been now like basically like a sponge, soaking up all of his information and all of his stuff that he has online. And he's a very interesting character. Billionaire, formerly from China. And you don't get to be a billionaire real estate mogul in China unless you have, I would say, maybe not friendly with the CCP, but at least they tolerate you. Because anything in China, you don't get to rise to power and to prominence unless they allow it. Because that's just how it works in China and with the CCP. They're a mafia organization. So he gets up there and clearly to make the kind of wealth that he had, I'm not saying the guy did wrongdoing. You know, you can make a lot of money in real estate. But what I'm saying is he got to work side by side with these people. He got to know these CCP higher-ups. And through that, he realized that these are some really evil, nasty people. And China hasn't always been ruled the way that they have currently. You know, if there's one good thing, I'm pretty well read with history, and I actually have huge respect and admire a lot of the Chinese history. You know, China and Chinese and Asian people in general were very, very, very noble people throughout history. And, you know, this is the history that created the samurai and stuff like that. You know, the Mongols and stuff come out of there. Very highly developed, you know, the Silk Road. Just look at the Chinese emperors back in history. You know, the same way that Rome was very powerful and Greece was very powerful, China and Asia back then was very powerful, and these empires were very powerful. So they themselves were some early civilizations. So they had, I have very respect for the Chinese people and the culture. I enjoy it. It's nice. But then recently, in the last 100 years or so, they have switched from an honorable, just, noble way of life to a tyrannical, authoritarian rule under the CCP. So this CCP, this Communist China Party, is something new that's spun off of out of the world wars and stuff like that, Maoist, Marxist philosophy. And this hasn't always been how China's been run. So a lot of the people like Guo Wengguan, I think is his name. I'll learn to say it better as I get to say it more often. But he has a lot of respect for how his country was founded and the history behind it. And same way with a lot of the people that live there in China. Not everyone in China worships the feet at the CCP. They only do so because they do so at their own apparel. So he got up there and he got all this money and he started working alongside by these people. And he started to realize that, hey, you know what? This is not right. This is not moral. You know, it's not good to have millions of Uyghurs in concentration camps. It's not moral. It's not moral to, like I said, to have all the one-child policy, the authoritarian rule, and how they rule China today. So he exiled and came to America. And when he did that, he left his family behind, unfortunately. And what happens when you start speaking out against China's Communist Party in anywhere around the globe, and they can't get your hands on you? Well, a tactic that the Chinese use, and I say the Chinese, I mean the CCP use, which is here in the West we feel is an immoral, nasty, dirty tactic, which is to go after the family. So that's what they did to, I'm going to just say his name, aka Miles. Miles is what they call it, his English name. It's what they did to Miles. So he's over here, and they start going after his family. So what's he do as any red-blooded man does? Well, he hunkers down and goes after them. You're going to come after my family, then I'm going to go after you. And he uses his money. He uses billions of dollars and influence. He uses his knowledge that he gained while working in China, working alongside the CCP during that time, to blow the whistle on a lot of their crimes in the Western nations, to people like Steve Bannon, to people like Rudy Giuliani. And he, I think that's who the characters are behind a lot of this stuff. You know, who brought this information over to the Rudy Giulianis and the Steve Bannons. It's this Miles. It's the other Chinese guy that I'm going to show you, and it's the Chinese virologist Li Mengyang. So I want to first say massive thanks to the three of you. We respect and honor what you did. You guys are true modern freedom fighters. You're literally bringing valuable information to the Western world, and we our hearts go out to you. We pray for your safety. And you know the CCP would love to have the three of these individuals hung up in their own country and murdered. So they're doing this at that risk. And they're taking a lot of risks doing what they're doing and speaking out. But it's the right thing to do, and it's why I have the utmost respect and honor for these individuals. So let's segue now and get into some of the hard drive stuff. So now to give you the backup story, to try to recap of what I've said here for the first 30 minutes. So you have the deep staters who are compromised through blackmail. This blackmail is in the hands of multiple foreign agents. China, Ukraine, Russia, and all these other things. You know, it's a constant battle behind closed doors through the intelligent operations of all this blackmail stuff that's going on in circulation. So Trump's going to win. They get scared. They're like, what the hell do we do? They release the virus as a way to, in many ways, help them. See, the virus not only helped them by shutting down the economy globally and shut down the economy in America, which made Trump's thing that he was going to run on, his winning economy, now he no longer has that in the bag to run on his platform. But think about it. While the virus was released on the globe, China's economy got to grow while everyone else went down. So they got that much closer to number one superpower in the world. Also, China benefited from this by globally a lot of the court systems. I myself am being impacted by this. A lot of the courts right now are shut down. They're not running jury trials. A lot of the courts are basically locked up and they're doing things virtually, but they're all basically at a standstill. So during a time when you're trying to prosecute and to try to dig up dirt and to start looking into the corruption of the CCP, the Biden family, Obama, and all these people that were spying on Trump's campaign, as Trump's getting this detail, getting this information and figuring out how corrupt these individuals are, he's having a hard time prosecuting anyone. Anyone across the globe's having a hard time prosecuting people right now because the goddamn courts are shut down. So how beneficial to those in power, to those that are committing evil acts on a daily basis, that the courts are shut down and they cannot be prosecuted? That they can play the whole card that, oh, well, I can't fly to Washington for any kind of hearings or anything like that because, well, it's a flight risk right now and COVID and you might get sick and blah, 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 blah. So this COVID Chinese virus that was released on the globe was 100% beneficial to those who wanted to remain in power. All the motive is there. So these hard drives, there are 3 of them that I've researched and I've come to the conclusion through listening to these individuals. There's 3 hard drives. On the first hard drive is the hard drive that we're going through now in the public, and it's what you're seeing. The first hard drive has on it 25,000 photos, photos compromising Hunter Biden and the Biden family, him using drugs, him with hookers and prostitutes, CP stuff, him, I guess, supposedly raping and brutalizing young Chinese children, I guess is what I should say. I shouldn't say women, children. And then a lot of these business dealings as well is on the laptop. Now, as I'm understanding it, the second hard drive has even more stuff, and then the third hard drive actually has a lot of the stuff tying into the virus and evidence proving that the virus was actually man-made and released on purpose, not by accident. So when the world wakes up to all this stuff, and I'm hoping people do, I've been awoke and waking up to it for over a decade now. That's why I do these videos, that's why I speak out, because I'm tired of the corruption, I'm tired of the evil, I'm tired of the nasty acts committed by a lot of these individuals. I want freedom globally. I want peace and prosperity. And I know as I succeed and as I have freedom and as I do good, everyone around me does good. It's a selfish, it's a psychopathic mindset to think that I want to only do good and I don't want anyone else to do good. And it's actually a stupid strategy because it holds a lot of innovation back. And that's what makes me the most mad, knowing that if the world could get rid of all this bull crap and infighting and division and unite around common goals and principles, where we could be today would blow your mind. We could be on Mars. We could be populating the stars. But no, instead, we're left here on the Earth to be ruled over by these psychopaths, these evil people who've been in power for so long. And I'm tired of it. And I want it to end. And I want these people to be brought to justice. I want to see them go to jail. And there's enough evidence, enough dirt out there that these people could easily be indicted and go to jail. And this is also a major wake-up call to everyone that the FBI, the DOJ, they had these hard drives now for a while. They had them since last year. They had them when the Democrats were running their to determine who was going to be their running mate. And it ended up being Joe Biden. But can you imagine if this stuff came out at the beginning? It would have never been Joe Biden. It might have been Bernie Sanders. But Bernie Sanders scared the crap out of the Democratic Party. It's what I'm going to look right now in the eye to you leftists and you young Turk individuals, you people who are on the left who are the Bernie Sanders supporters. And then as Bernie got his win stolen from him, you jumped on the Hunter Biden or the Joe Biden bandwagon. You guys are goddamn traitor sellouts. You know that? Young Turks, Anna Kasparian, Cenk Uygur. You literally were behind Bernie. He's who you guys philosophically supported, morally supported. You wanted to get money out of politics, Wolfpack, like you guys say. The goddamn election gets stolen from Bernie and goes to Biden. And then what do you guys do? You tuck your tail between your leg and you get behind and support Biden, knowing what you know now, knowing that it was stolen from Bernie. You still support this man. Disgusting. Disgusting. All you leftists, all you Bernie bros, you should actually be now swapping and going over and supporting Trump. Even if you don't agree with his every single thing he does politically, just do it in itself as a FU vote to your Democratic establishment that they basically stole the election from you. Okay, through voter fraud, through keeping Bernie hush-hush, to not giving him the media spotlight the same way that Biden did. And shame on the media. You guys in the media are massively to blame, and history is going to judge you guys terrible. Because you know what? If everyone just threw their cell phones in the ditch, turned off the TV, we would be living life like nothing ever exists. A lot of this thing that we have to blame is on the media and social medias. Social media and mainstream media is to blame for all the division, all the crap that we're seeing in today's society. Because if they didn't blast it from their news stations every single day on repeat, creating division, sowing division in the country, we wouldn't be in the state we are today. We might be all getting along like we were 10, 20 years ago. America and the Western nations have had their problems, but for the most part, we could walk around and have differing opinions and get along, go have a beer together. To now where people are getting punched out in the street if they have a Trump hat on. All this is to blame from you, social media individuals, and you in the mainstream media. You have blood on your hands. And history will show you have blood on your hands. And mark my words, indictments are coming. We are going to have a second Nuremberg-style trial. And we're going to start rounding up. And when I say rounding up, I mean charging and let the evidence prove in a court that these people are guilty of having blood on their hands. And Hunter Biden and the Biden family and the Obamas and a lot of these people who got the money, this dirty money from China, that's blood money. Where do you think that money came from? Okay, China, the reason why they're able to make products cheaper, why here in Canada and the United States, when you purchase products, 95% of them are from China. Why that is the case is because here in Canada or United States, when we have to build a product, we don't treat our working class like trash, like slaves, like dirt. So we pay them a decent wage. We pay them, maybe some medical, health care and stuff like that. Here in Ontario, the minimum wage is $14 an hour. So basically, right there, off the cuff, you have to pay a worker $14 an hour to make something. Well, in China, under authoritarian dictatorship CCP rule, they don't have no minimum wage. They rule by iron fist. They rule by force. They rule by authoritarianism. And they pay those people slave labor wages. Maybe $1 an hour, maybe less. So you wonder why we can't compete in the Western world, why I can buy a product here in Canada, made in Canada, maybe $30, so I can buy the same product made in China for $2. And you as the individual walks into that store, well, obviously you're going to try to make you're going to try to make a buy that's the cheaper decision because you want more money in your pocket, maybe more money to go travel, to put in your kids, put food in your mouth. But people need to understand that the reason why they're getting the cheaper product from China is because they're literally slave labor. And that's where a lot of this money came from. When they give Hunter Biden 1.5 or $10 million, or in some cases $1 billion, $1 billion or $10 million in China when you're paying someone slave labor, do you know how much blood and sweat and slave labor went into making 10 million in China versus 10 million in America, where you got to pay a living wage? I mean, it's disgusting. So here is the Biden family taking blood money from the impoverished, enslaved people of China who are being ruled over by an iron fist by the CCP, and they have no problem doing that, the Biden family. And this goes to show you the character of the Biden family, that, I understand that majority of the world's problems, I would say 95% of the world's problems stems from parenting. I understand that you don't get to be a pedophile unless you were probably molested yourself as a child. I understand you don't get to be a thief, someone who's in jail, unless some bad things happen to you. Now, can you point me to the anecdotal examples of the 1% of the person that was born with a brain defect that made him act in a certain manner? Of course. But I'm saying the vast majority of people are the way they are because of their upbringing. So what does this tell me about Joe Biden? His son is on the crack pipe almost 7 days a week. His son is doing cocaine off of prostitutes' butts. His son is doing pedophilic activity. This shows you what kind of father Joe Biden was. Obviously a sick, terrible one, the fact that this is how his son turned out. And a good character, a good judge of people is to look at how their parents are. So look at Trump's family. Look at Don Jr. and all the rest of them, and Eric and Ivanka. The media would be all over it if Ivanka or Eric or Don were having a crack pipe in their mouth and they couldn't stay off the drugs for an hour in the day. Come on. I mean, the media bias is insane, but it all makes sense. It all makes sense of why the bias is the way it is, because it's all compromising dirt. This is how the modern world has learned to handle their politics now. It's no longer fighting with physical violence or might. It's dirty-handed tactics and blackmail. And this is happening in Hollywood. This is happening in intelligence agencies, in the highest echelons of government, in royal families, all of it. All these people are compromised. So when you all of a sudden see so-and-so celebrity come out who's never been political his entire life and all of a sudden give a speech supporting someone who you're like, wow, why would you support such a corrupt individual when the vast majority of the globe doesn't support that individual, and you coming out with that endorsement is going to create a lot of your fans now to be divided, almost half of them now to hate you. Why do these people make those decisions? You know, these celebrities, I'm not going to name individuals, you can just go out there and look, whether it's in sports and entertainment or whatever. Why do these individual celebrities go out and make these endorsements? They make them for two reasons. One, money. So they're selling out. Someone's paying them to make that endorsement, and money is more important than the principle. Or two, blackmail. They have dirt on these individuals. That's it. This is why the people function the way that they do. So I am excitedly, eagerly waiting by. You know, I even have some beautiful cigars right here beside me that I might even smoke today as celebration. I'm just sitting back and watching all this stuff finally come out because I've been wanting it to come out. I've been saying it forever. Even during the Epstein stuff, I said, guys, of course, this is the tip of the iceberg. Please look into how blackmail operations work. This is how the intelligence agency works. And it's just nice to finally see a lot of my work, a lot of what I've been saying come to fruition. And it's going to be exciting today. I'm doing this video today, Monday, because we are going to see more and more get released on a daily basis. More and more. And I can understand the strategy, but I cannot. So what's going on right now and why the information is coming out the way it is. So strategically, Trump and the Trump administration, we all understand that the majority of people have a very small attention span. Okay, and it's been strategically designed that way through the apps and stuff like that to make your attention span smaller and smaller and smaller. And knowing that the vast majority of population has such a small attention span, you can't release everything in one day. Just look at Jeffrey Epstein. Here we are, months out from Jeffrey Epstein being strangled and killed in jail, and nobody's talking about it anymore, almost as if we forgot about it. So see, something as serious and as damning as a gentleman running a pedophile blackmail operation that has ensnared people like Prince Andrew and some of the highest well-connected individuals on the globe, that is no longer hardly a story here leading up to the election. So the Trump team understood this and realized that the only way that we can get this information out and be effective is by doing the slowly feeding it out strategy. Now, the strategy works very well. Why? Because you get Hunter Biden on day one come out and say, this is all just a Russian collusion smear tactic. It's all fake news. And then what did Rudy Giuliani and the Trump team do on day two? Well, they release a smidging of information that disproves what Joe Biden said in the previous day. And that's what you're going to see happening up until the election. Now, also, the amount of information coming out is being dictated on the response of the Democrats. So if Joe Biden, if Nancy Pelosi and all the Democrats want to continue to hunker down and be assholes and get up there and use their media spotlight to talk more crap about Trump and his base, then the leaks are going to get more and more damning each and every day as a way to put pressure on the other side to smarten the hell up and toe the line. Now, I'm actually not so much for this approach because I would rather, at the end of the day, people need to know, the American people need to know, and I think Trump team knows that. Now, why are you not seeing indictments? Now, let me explain this to you. Let me explain it very well. Jeff Sessions was the first attorney general for Trump. Jeff Sessions was a total idiot loser who didn't want to do his job, who didn't want to make any arrests, who didn't want to investigate a lot of the stuff. So what did Trump do? Trump fires Jeff Sessions. Here comes Attorney General Barr. Now, my opinion on Attorney General Barr is up in the air. A part of me thinks he is a deep state agent because of his ties to Epstein, because of his father getting him a job at the school, and the fact that he looked over the Epstein case and looked over the prison cell footage and basically told the public that there's nothing to see here. That sent up massive red flags to me for Attorney General Barr. But then people get up and say, well, look at him. He gives these constitutional speeches and he talks about how the lockdowns are the most tyrannical thing since slavery. And then he gives us speeches about the Constitution, how they need to be read word for word and has written, blah, blah, blah. And he speaks, and everything he says out of his mouth sounds, oh, he sounds so great. Well, let me tell you something. The devil's not going to come looking like a monster. The devil's going to come in a pre-red dress looking like a beautiful woman and to appeal to you. And in a lot of ways, that's what I see A.G. Barr doing. A.G. Barr tells Trump and his base just enough where people still think, wow, he seems like a decent attorney general. He understands a good grasp of the Constitution and the rule of law. But in the same breath, in his actions, he has not arrested anyone to do with Epstein. Ghislaine Maxwell is sitting quietly in jail right now, and there's not much to hearing about that. And then they've had this dirt on these hard drives now for a while now, and nothing's been done about that. So look at the actions of A.G. Barr, not look at the words. A.G. Barr is playing Trump and playing the Trump administration. So what does Trump do? He's 2 weeks out to an election. He's 3 weeks out. Let's even go a month ago. He's a month ago out from the election. If he fires A.G. Barr now, or he did a couple months ago, what would have been the news story? The news story would have been Trump fires a second attorney general because they won't do what he wants them to do. And the media tries to spin it as Trump's being authoritarian. And if his attorney general doesn't go after his political opponents like he asks him to, that he just fires them. And that makes Trump in the media and to the people who are into politics make it look like Trump's an authoritarian, that you either follow my rules or you're fired. And in all reality, the attorney general should be impartial, should just, deal with the case and the facts and the rule of law. But that's the thing about Attorney General Barr. Trump is justified in saying, hey, get out there and do your job and investigate these people, when he's not. So Trump's put in a predicament. What does he do? Does he fire this guy so close to the election and it be a PR disaster? Or does he keep A.G. Barr in office for now, and then once Trump wins, he fires A.G. Barr and he tries to bring in another person to do his deeds? Now, this is what's happening right now. Trump is trying to get things done, but he's not the individual who can physically lay down the indictments. So he's trying very hard. He keeps trying to hire people. They turn out to be deep state agents. They turn out to be the devil in the red dress. They tell him everything they want him to hear. Oh, yeah, they whisper everything in his ear that, yeah, we agree with you. The deep state's corrupt. We're here to drain the swamp, blah, 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 blah. But then once they actually get into power, they never actually do that. So Trump now has realized this. He's went through multiple people throughout his administration. He's fired and hired enough people that he realizes that he's starting to get back to his core group, which was the core group who helped him win the 2016 election. Giuliani, Bannon, and all these individuals, the InfoWars base, all that kind of stuff. He's finally getting back to his roots, the same group that got him into place, because he distanced himself. Once he got into office, he distanced himself from Bannon and Paul Manafort and these other individuals, the Roger Stones. These are the people that we need to have around Trump right now. Roger Stone, Steve Bannon, Paul Manafort, the Chinese biologist, Rudy Giuliani. These are the people who we need to have around Trump, the ones who actually are good individuals who are trying to do the right thing. Now, the reason why the Steve Bannon got temporary charged there for supposedly frauding on money on building the wall, and then Paul Manafort went to jail, blah, 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 right now. All these, of course, they're coming after Trump's minions because, they're basically coming after Steve Bannon for running a stoplight. Meanwhile, they are basically raping and murdering people behind their closed doors. So it's like, of course, they're coming after Trump's people, because if they don't, Trump's people are coming after them. So when I see Steve Bannon get charged for something, or Paul Manafort get charged and in jail right now, to me, that just seems like, well, of course, his opposition's coming after them because they have such damning information. They got to do something to put these men away to censor and shut them up, which is the next point I'll talk about, the censorship. The censorship's been coming for a long time. Alex Jones was the first to fall on all the social medias. And from that moment forward, that day, I said, wow, this is going to create an avalanche effect. That once you start censoring one individual, the end game is to censor all. And, a couple of years ago, it was, wow, they censored Alex Jones, but he's crazy. He's tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. To where we're at today, where you get the New York Post and the president himself, the president of the United States, the most powerful man on the globe himself, is now censored in his tweets. So how far we've came. And, you know, that's what happens. They get you used to something small, and then they incrementally push the line, push, take an inch, until eventually they're over here and they've taken everything. And that's what we're doing right now. That's what the lockdowns are. It's all to get you conditioned. It's all a Milgram experiment. It's all to see what the population will take, what they'll put up with. And we're learning a lot. I'm learning a lot as a freedom fighter, that a lot of you people will take a lot of crap before you actually start getting on a video like I am, or physically getting out there and try to stop this stuff. And do your own research. And I understand that majority of people, you know, you go, you work your 9 to 5, you come home, you take care of the kids, you clean the house, you visit your family, you flick on a little bit of TV a couple hours in the afternoon, you go to bed. There's not a lot of time in the day for the average citizen to understand and grasp all these complex things that I'm trying to explain here today. But that's why you need to pick people like myself or other individuals who you get your news from, and don't just pick one person. I go across the spectrum. I watch Fox News and I watch MSNBC. I watch Alex Jones. I watch Young Turks. Why? Because I need to gather all information from all perspectives to come up with what makes sense to me. And that's what everyone needs to do. But for those individuals who don't have the time and day to put the research in, like myself and some of the other people out there, like Jack Posobiec and some of these other people looking through the emails right now, that then find people who you've watched enough that you feel are telling the truth and you can trust, and then try to get an idea of what's going on through listening to them. So I have spent now days and days and days and days and days following this topic, researching, looking through the files, trying to find the files on the hard drive, blah, 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 blah. Researching, listening to people talking in Chinese with Chinese subtitles, whatever I could do to figure out the root of the story, to bring it to you guys in one video rather than you guys having to spend a whole week researching this thing. So, and you know, I do an okay job, but obviously Rudy Giuliani and the professionals who are doing it right now do a better job. So I'd encourage you to go check out their work as well and listen to a lot of what they're saying. But this is how the world and structure. This is how the world's been structured and designed, to keep everyone so busy, to keep everyone so distracted, that the rulers continue to rule, and we got to keep our heads down. And I'm tired of it. And I want to see us move into prosperity. I want to see the globe free. I want to see freedom reign across the whole globe. I'm tired of seeing feminists in America talk about how equal pay gap and you know, women need rights here in the Western nations. Meanwhile, they turn a blind eye to the Middle East where women have no rights. I'm tired of people here in America and the Western nations talking about how, oh, Black Lives Matter, and minorities' lives matter, but you don't care about the black Africans that are currently enslaved in Libya. Currently enslaved. I'm tired of you guys complaining about minorities when you turn a blind eye to minorities in Uyghur that are in concentration camps. So I always like to use analogies. When I see the leftists, when I see the social justice warriors, when I see the people here in the Western nations bitching about our way of life, it's literally like us living in paradise. Well, our neighbor... Oh, no, let me give another analogy. The climate change, the pollution analogy. And I can even show you guys videos of this, of me when being on vacation and in some other third world countries, how they handle their garbage and their pollution. So to give you an analogy of what's going on and how I feel like in America, I feel like in my backyard I have one piece of trash thrown on the ground. And my next door neighbor has a heaping pile of trash and crap, literally almost to the roof of his house. And then I have Black Lives Matter, social justice warriors coming with signs to the front of my house saying, we want climate change. Matt Hunter has a piece of garbage on his backyard. Wow, what a terrible piece of crap he is. He's racist. He's not clean. He's committing, he's contributing to climate change. And then these activists, I'm like, hey guys, look, my neighbor's got trash to the roof. Clearly, he's more of a problem than I am. And how people should problem solve is let's deal with the big issues first, the ones that are causing the most problems first, and then we can deal with the little things after. So here I am saying, hey guys, don't worry about my single piece of trash in my backyard. Look at my neighbor next door who's got trash up to the ceiling, and they're going to be like, they're turning the block. No, you're dirty. Climate change. And that's how I see modern politics today. then I turn on the cable news or any of these CNNs, ABCs, NBCs, CBC, whatever you want to name the ABCDE, whatever the channel is, they're always bitching about things that are so small on the grand global scheme. So they want to talk about Russian collusion, which we know was all just a tactic that was funded by Hillary Clinton. The dossier was funded by the Democratic Party as a way to change the news story from Hillary Clinton's emails to let's talk about Russian collusion, meddling in the election. That's how Trump got elected. So all I see is them focusing on these tiny little things that might have a grain of truth in them, but are actually, on the grand scheme of things, full of bull crap. And like I said, way bigger issues to focus on. This is what the media does. They focus on the little things. They focus on my individual chip bag, piece of trash on the backyard, and they ignore the neighbor next door. They ignore the slaves, African slaves in Libya. They ignore the Uyghur slaves in China. They ignore the organ harvesting going in China. Now here in America, another thing that pisses me off are the Western nations. People, they're against abortion. You know, they're all, we're against abortion, or we're pro-life and stuff like that. Or even the people who are for abortion or blah, 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 blah. Well, we completely ignore the one-child policy in China. You know, in China, in the one-child policy, let me give a visceral explanation of how this would work. If you had a second daughter in China and you gave birth to that individual and the CCP found out this child could be a year old, a month old, 20 years old, whatever. If they were 20 years old, well, they'd get taken to a concentration camp, become a slave, blah, 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 because then they could be of value to the CCP. But if the CCP came by a Chinese person's house and they had a second daughter and she was about a year old, they would take that 1-year-old and they would drown them, they would kill them. There's been situations and pictures, and it's been documented, where they have given birth at the hospital to a second daughter, and because of the one-child policy, they took that baby crying and screaming, born into the world, and stuck him in a pail of water and drowned the newborn. That is disgusting. That is immoral. That keeps me up at night. That brings tears to my eyes thinking about how many people the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, have murdered through their one-child policy. Babies. So if the Chinese Communist Party is willing to take a newborn baby and throw it in a bucket and drown it right there on the spot, don't kid yourself that the Chinese Communist Party are willing to use 12, 13, 14, or maybe younger-old girls as sex slaves to be brutalized by Hunter Biden as a way to blackmail and set him up and have power over the United States. That is what's going on a mass scale. We know it now. It's not debatable. The evidence is in, and those who are out there debating it, you're just hunkering down and you're just highlighting it for all of us that either one, you're so ignorant and so stupid, I don't know how you get up and tie your shoes in the morning, or two, you're complicit and you're going along with all this evil. And history will reward you for such. So people better start choosing their sides right now. I'm on the side for freedom. My family's on the side for freedom. We want what's good. And same with the police officers right now, law enforcement, any CIA, any CSEC, any agents watching my video, because I know there's government officials watching my videos. I have a court order to not delete my stuff, and we can't even get into it. But I know I'm being watched, and for any of you out there who are watching me in law enforcement or in the courts and stuff like that, do you guys really want to be a part of this? You guys really want to be a part of bringing the world down to a nastier place of more division? This is the world that you're leaving your children to. I thought the one rule of thumb for each generation is to leave the world in a better place than it was previous. And for the most part, we've been doing that okay. You know, if you look 1,000 years ago, you could have slaves, and not even 1,000, but, you know, a couple hundred years ago, you could own slaves, you could do pretty much everything. You know, depending on your social status, you could even rape people. A couple hundred years ago, whatever. So I see progressively the world's getting better, but we could get a lot more better. And, you know, I would say in the last couple of generations, we have not done that rule, where we have left the generation after us a better world. So all you police officers out there, all you agents, all you FBI guys, even if they have blackmail on yourself, they have, you know, if people dug deep enough, they could probably blackmail me. But you know what? If the government comes to me and says, we're going to blackmail you, do this, or sell your future generations and freedom and prosperity and everything that you hold value in your personal life and your principles, sell them out because we have tapes or we have blackmail on you? Screw you! Release them then. That's how people should be right now in government that are maybe being blackmailed. Screw you. Do your worst, because you know what? Me being quiet and complacent is leading to a very dark place. And if any of you foot soldiers for the evil that's going on today think that you're going to be protected at the end of this, history's shown that you're the first to go. Because you know what? One person to be the most scared of is not the enemy at your front gate. It's the one who's trying to be your friend and who will sneakily, when you get around a corner in a dark alley, stab you. Those are the people you need to look out for. Individuals. And those are the people Trump needs to keep an eye around, who are guaranteed circling him right now in the White House. He is surrounded. He needs to get himself like-minded individuals around him. He needs to start getting the individuals that the media would classify as degenerates, are actually the freedom fighters, and we see through all the media's degeneracy. Get those people around Trump. And Trump, I'm pretty sure, has seen the hard drive. Hopefully he's seen the hard drive. In one of his speeches just the other night, he says, you know, I try not to be involved in a lot of the stuff. I try to keep myself out of it. Exactly, because the media, if he gets involved, is going to say, the president's getting involved in domestic matters. He's trying to sway the FBI's agents' opinions on how to investigate a lot of stuff. Well, it's too bad, Trump. The media's going to write what they're going to write, and they're going to do what they're going to do regardless of what you do, Trump. And I think he's starting to realize that. No matter if Trump makes world peace tomorrow, makes it rain gold and rainbows and ponies to everyone tomorrow, they will still write in the media how evil and how terrible he is because a pony might have fell from the sky and killed someone. So no matter what you do, Trump, you'll never be in the media's eyes a good person. But us, the people of the world, we see through the lies of the media. So just do what you got to do. Get these people locked up. So today is Monday, and if one thing we understand, as I'm going to wrap this video up, because, you know, I need to get back into research and figuring out what's being released right now, because one thing we understand that how news cycles work, Fridays tend to be the days that are the least popular. Why? Because most people are getting off work, it's the weekend, and they want to live their life. You know, not many people are actually into politics like I am. People just want to live on their life and do their thing. So most, for the deep state, for the people who are evil, for the people who don't want the news story to get a big attention, stuff gets released on Friday. Now, for people who want things to get big attention, usually news gets released on Monday. Today is Monday. And I said on the weekend and last week, knowing this strategically how the news cycles work, that pay attention this Monday, you're going to see a lot of new stuff come out. And I'm going to, after I end this video, go check out some of this new stuff that's being dropped today. But you're going to see the trickle-out effect. You're going to see it trickle. And then I'm hoping what I see is right before the actual physical election, big things come out. And I'm going to look you guys in the eye right now and tell you, those of you, the Rudy Giuliani's, the Steve Bannons, all these type of people, the officers investigating these hard drives. Let me look you in the eye here. I know you guys can't show CP. I know it's illegal to share and distribute child porn. That's not what we're asking. But unless people physically see Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, the emails, they physically can see the stuff themselves with their own eyes, people aren't going to believe it. Unfortunately, there's too much Stockholm Syndrome. There's too much worshiping of these people that have been in power for so long. So whether you guys have to blur it out, pixelate it, maybe there's videos of him with just normal, regular age prostitutes, you guys have to release that stuff. It's the only way. It's the only way. Now, I've heard that what they're doing behind closed doors is using the FISA courts. Now, let me explain the FISA courts to you quickly. One of my final points here. So, as a normal citizen, I deal with normal provincial, federal, and Supreme Courts if I have any kind of issues. Well, if you're in the military and you have to get charged or deal with something criminal, usually you get dealt with through military courts. So, and Rudy Giuliani helped create the FISA courts. Funny enough, that he helped create something that now is going to be used against the deep state that they've been using against Trump for the last while, spying on his campaign. So, what is the FISA court? in concept, it seems like a good idea. It's basically a court that the public doesn't have access to, and they can't see what's going on in that court because the materials might be classified, or what's the word I'm looking for? Basically classified, and could cause risk to the public, maybe put agents in harm, blah, 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 blah. National security risk, that's the word I'm looking for. So you need a court, because like if you're prosecuting a CIA agent who is maybe working overseas in clandestine operations, and he's working with partners and stuff like that, if you go and now run that trial in a public trial for the public to see, through that you can maybe connect and understand how operations work. The opposition party, the Chinese, could see then who that agent was communicating with. It would put the whole operation and the methods used at risk. So the concept of the FISA court was a good idea, but it got abused. It got abused by Obama and the people in office who seek to do bad with it. So basically, this FISA court is a court that deals with these matters, and obviously Hunter Biden's laptop with child porn, with insider deals and all this other kind of stuff, bribery, selling his country out, clearly has very sensitive, classified information in a lot of this stuff. So they're not going to run that through a public hearing, through a public trial that we would all get to see. So I think what's happening right now is a lot of this stuff is being run behind closed doors in these FISA courts. It's why we're not seeing it. And why you might wake up one day and there might be an indictment and you didn't even realize that it was going to happen, or how it happened, or how the trial was played out, because it was done through a FISA court. Now, like I said, the FISA court was used against Trump. Basically Hillary Clinton understood that she needed to take the media spotlight off of them looking into her email server, her illegal email server that was set up in her bathroom that had 33,000 emails that she whitewashed with bleach, with a program to destroy it, and also smash the phones up with hammers, clearly tampering and hiding and destroying evidence, which in itself is a crime. So I hope to see Hillary Clinton and that family go to jail as well. And obviously they're smashing all that stuff up. They clearly had a lot to hide. And mark my words, the same with Hunter Biden. It wasn't all to do with their illegal bribery actions. It also had a lot to do with pedophilia. Look at the John Podesta emails. Look at the keywords, pizza, napkin, all these words that the FBI knows. So they are now, Obama then used the FISA court, because it was behind closed doors and the public couldn't see. They could basically lie to this judge, this FISA judge, whether they paid off that judge, had them in their pocket or whatnot, and basically say, hey, we think Russia's colluding with Trump. Now, through the FISA court and through this belief, this dossier that we know now has been funded by the DNC and Hillary Clinton, was a justification through the FISA court then to spy on Trump and his administration. Now, we understand what the motive behind spying on Trump, because if you're Obama and you're Joe Biden and you're Hillary Clinton and you've been doing a lot of illegal things in power for the last decade with you and your families, and you got this new outsider coming in who you don't have in your pocket, you're obviously scared shitless, like, holy shit, if he comes in here and lifts the mat up in the White House and sees how much dirt's under here and sees how much corruption and evil deeds we've been doing and selling out the country for the last decades and decades, we're going to be in big trouble. We might even go to jail. We might even be arrested. We might even go to Guantanamo. So what do? We need to spy on Trump. We need to spy on his administration so that we can follow him through the election process and see, is Trump talking about arresting us? Is Trump talking about looking into this stuff? And, so this is the motivation behind why they spied on Trump. And also the motivation to spy on Trump was to figure out any kind of way that they could beat him. If he says he's going to do such and such strategy, and now they know that strategy, they can then maneuver their strategies in order to fight that strategy of Trump. They have an inside advantage. They're spying on him. They're literally listening through the walls, basically, through the iPhones, stuff like that. So they use the FISA court. They spy on Trump so they can figure out what the hell's going on. Now, Trump has realized, he's sitting back, he's laughing, ha 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 ha, he's talking to Rudy Giuliani. Oh, so wait, we can now use the FISA court, the same thing that they used against me, I can now use against them. And unlike them, I actually have physical hard drives and evidence to prosecute them. So I think that's why why you're not seeing things being played out in the media right now, is because it's going through the FISA process, which is unfortunately behind closed doors, because a lot of the stuff has national security implications, and a lot of the stuff has stuff that would be illegal to share. You know, it's still illegal to share and to distribute child porn. So as much as the New York Post and Steve Bannon want to show the public what Hunter Biden's been up to and the sick and evil acts he's been doing, the sharing of that stuff, the leaking in that stuff in itself is a criminal act. So I don't think we're ever going to see a CP video. And it kind of made me a little sad when I seen Alex Jones run the story on his Infowars.com, basically that Trump is going to release videos of Biden raping and abusing underage Chinese girls. I don't think we'll ever see that video, because that in itself, if it got out, would be a crime. So unless they blur it in such a way, maybe, but I don't think we're going to see that. If anything, what I predict we'll see is people maybe get arrested, maybe get indicted and stuff like that, but it'll be done through the FISA process. So that's what's happening right now, guys. It's pretty crazy. There's a lot in the news cycle right now, and you're going to see it start coming out. It's going to start coming out slowly leading up to the election. And I hope once Trump wins, which he will, I think it's pretty well a guarantee. I mean, how could you now, forget the voters, how could you now even have Biden as a president? Because he's clearly a national security risk. You know, even to apply to be a local CIA agent, or even a law enforcement agent in some cases, one of the questions in the applications, or one of the things that they ask individuals who are running for these power positions is, what's your financial situation like? And the reason why they ask you that is because if you owe, let's say, you know, $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 to some bank, or you have student loans or stuff like that, it opens the door for blackmail, for bribery, and for control, right? So if you're a CIA agent and you get approached by a member of the CCP, and he says, hey, listen, I see you got a lot of debts in your family's name. I'll tell you what, if you stick this hard drive in the computer at your office and we get some intelligence off you, we'll pay off and wipe all those debts. And see, it's that having those debts open you up to the susceptibility of blackmail. So you got to look at Joe Biden as basically that, as a massive example. He could never be the president because he's such a national security risk. We now know his son is a drug addict, which in itself is a national security risk itself. His son is clearly a pedophile who likes to bang underage children. And I think Joe Biden, by all the videos you can see of him touching girls inappropriately on the Senate floor and stuff, he himself is probably a pedophile as well. So clearly, and then all the money, the Russian mayor's wife paying him all the money, the CCP paying him all the money, Ukraine paying him all the money. Obviously, you can't have this guy be the president because he's compromised. They don't pay you millions and millions of dollars unless you're going to do something for them. And that's what Rudy Giuliani said. The fact that he was still recently being paid by these people shows that even recently he's still obviously been giving something of value to these foreign nations, all right? You know, the CCP isn't just going to give Joe Biden billions of dollars for fun because they like him. That just doesn't happen, you know? And you got to also ask yourself, a lot of these politicians, Democrat and Republican, across the board, are implicated on this stuff. I mean, if you just look at an average senator or Nancy Pelosi and some of these people, their yearly salaries are like a couple $100,000 a year. Even the president of the United States was like $400,000 a year. But yet, most of them are worth 20, 30, 50, $100 million in some cases, some of these people. So come on, guys. It's so simple to understand. Why the hell is Nancy Pelosi's salary a couple $100,000 a year, but her home's like a $16 million home or some bullshit? Where did all the money come from all these politicians? It's insider trading. It's bribery. It's blackmail. It's enriching themselves while they take down America. And that's what's happening right now. It's clear as day. It's all coming out. Those who are ignoring it, like I said, you're either completely stupid or you're complicit and you're going along with it because I don't know, maybe you got some invested interest, but this is sick. So Trump will win the election. He has to by default, because if he doesn't, I mean, I think so, full-blown civil war, I guess, probably if Joe Biden gets in, because if Joe Biden gets in and wins and he's the president of the United States, that shows us that every single aspect of the Department of Justice, the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, all intelligence agencies clearly turned a blind eye to his criminal acts, his family's criminal acts, the mafia family of the Obamas, the Bushes, and the Clintons, because they have invested interest in these people being in power. And if they're all willing to turn the blind eye like that and put their people in place, you know, when people realize that there's a rule for me but not a rule for thee, that's when people start thinking revolution. That's when people start realizing that it's not fair, that if I go jaywalk across the street right now, I'm going to get in trouble for it. But Joe Biden's son can smoke crack every day of the week, bang children, take insider bribes, sell out his nation, and he doesn't go to jail. His crimes are way, way, way more severe than the average citizen who gets the book thrown at them when they deal with the courts. So it's that kind of understanding that there's such a double-sided legal system. That's what's going to create people that if I can't get justice through the ballot box, if I can't get justice through the courts, there only leaves a couple more methods to get justice, people. And I'm sitting here today saying, I don't want that. I don't want this to go to a hot civil war. I don't want things to get red hot and we have to do what we have to do. But I tell you one thing, people are willing to do that stuff if this is where it's going. Because I'm not willing to sell out my nation and to sell out my future children. Because of what? The repercussions? The repercussions of not doing stuff at this point is enough to make people want to do stuff. So this is not me calling for an act of violence. This is me saying to everyone watching this stuff and to those law enforcement officers that if you guys don't want to have to go to war with your own citizenry, you better start holding these elite corrupt politicians accountable, because if not, people are going to want to do that themselves. This is probably why you've seen the Michigan lady there have the militia come after her. They tried to say the militia wanted to kill her. No, they were trying to serve her with a citizen's arrest. Yeah, did I think that was going to work? Absolutely not. You know, you're not going to approach Justin Trudeau here in Canada with a citizen's arrest. I don't think so. His agents will not let you get that close. And if you did, they would arrest you for doing so. But I'm telling you, agents and all you people out there in law enforcement, you better start going after the true criminals. Because if you don't, the people are going to realize that you're not going after them. And then it's no holds bars. Then people are going to do and get desperate. And everything right now, I just see as a match. It's just waiting to light this whole fire and it go up in flames. And you, law enforcement, can stop that wildfire by just simply going after these people. The same way that you'll go and as a law enforcement agent and arrest someone for drinking and driving, for jaywalking, for having drugs on them. I mean, here's the hypocrisy of it. Joe Biden passes the frickin' bill that makes cocaine, crack cocaine get a higher time in jail than cocaine. So, like, what is cocaine? Cocaine's a powder. Crack cocaine is itself synthesized into rock. You snort. You have cocaine in powder form. You maybe do 6 months or a year in jail. You have it in crack form, a couple years, 10 years in jail. It was Joe Biden and them that contributed to those legislation. And here he is a hypocrite. His son is home smoking raw crack that could put him away for years and years and years, in the same way that Joe Biden has no problem putting away everyone else for smoking crack while his son does it in the bathroom. Disgusting. These people are hypocrites, and it pisses me off. So I'm telling you guys, please, this is a plea to law enforcement. Do what you need to do. Do the right things right now, because if you don't, this is not me calling for violence. This is just me studying history, studying how people work, studying things for the last thousands and thousands of years, the rise and fall of civilizations, that if you guys do not arrest these people, indict them, and round it all up and start living in the world the way we should be, stop stirring up racial division, stop stirring up division in the country, stop sowing all this division crap in the media and the social medias. If you guys don't start turning your acts around, where we're headed in society. This is not me calling for it. This is me just predicting and studying history and making an accurate representation of where it's heading. You're all in for a hell of a nasty time. Because if you wait to the point where you wait for the people to do something, it's going to be pitchforks and torches outside of politicians' homes, outside individuals' homes, and it's going to be people wanting to do citizens' arrest, and it's not going to be bad. It's not going to be good. Because you're going to put police in worse situations. Police, you think you're in a worse situation? Imagine when you're lined up like they were with the Bundys, and you now have your gun sights on your fellow Americans or your fellow Canadians. Or here in Canada, they're currently building COVID isolation centers. They're seeking contractors right now to build these things. And I hope to God that any of these Canadian companies and any of these bricklayers and these the amount of people that goes into building an isolation center, I hope you goddamn people don't do it. I hope you goddamn people whistleblow on this stuff. Because you know what? You're literally building cages for your own fellow man. That's disgusting. You're no different than the modern Jews or the modern Nazis who rounded up the Jews. You're just rounding up the COVID patients now. Which, it's all a lie and a joke. And the pandemic, it's real, but it's no different than the flu. The death rates are in, it's a joke. The justification for shutting down the economy is a joke. So please, this is a plea to law enforcement. This is a plea to all those in power. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. And if I ever see you show up at my door, I know you're not doing the right thing. Because I know in my heart, and if you watch me for the last 10 years on my Facebook feed, and you just know anything about me, I want what's right. I want freedom. I want love. I want prosperity. I want people to do well. I want to see the Uyghur Chinese people freed. I want to see China rise, but not under communism, not under CCP. I want to see the globe unite around principles of freedom and liberty. And I think we're going to see that. But unfortunately, it's going to have to get a lot worse. So it's going to be an exciting lead up to the election. I'm going to end this video. I'm going to go now research the hell out of what's coming out today in the news cycle. And I'm probably going to try to do more videos leading up to the election because each day it's just going to be a massive drop, massive drop, massive drop. Maybe not so much on the weekends because we understand those are slow news cycle days. But we're 2 weeks out, guys. It's showtime, you know. So you only got a couple more days of hot news issues, stuff to come out in the news before we start voting, or people start voting for the President of the United States. And if I don't see Joe Biden arrested, indicted, or something, like, how can this guy run for office? I don't know. I have no idea. And if he does, you know, the Trump supporters may go full-blown civil war. And I wouldn't blame them for it. And you know what? In law enforcement, you go and watch a lot of these videos, and a lot of law enforcement are Trump supporters. Because why? Trump's the pro-law enforcement guy. I'm pro-law enforcement. Okay? I may do videos on why all the police... I have a video called Why All Police Officers Are Bad. It's not the role of the police. It's the institution in which you guys work under. I love the concept of being a police officer, going out there and going after people who are raping people, going after people who are murdering people, dealing with domestic disputes, just going out there and dealing with the world's problems and bringing in the bad guys. That job is a heroic job, is a moral job, is an honorable job, and in many ways, I want to do that job. But I can't do it underneath the structure in which you guys work under today. So don't any of these law enforcement, any of these people who watch my video think like I have utmost respect for what you guys do, including you guys in the military. But the problem I have with it is you work under a system, as you see, one rule for thee, one rule for me, which makes a lot of people jaded against law enforcement and jaded against the intelligence agencies and a lot of these people. It's because we see we're not treated fair. So don't take my videos and my rhetoric as an attack against you as a law enforcement agent officer, or you as a military man, or you as a government official. Prove to the citizenry that we're not right, that you're not all bad and complicit in it. Speak out against this. And when I watch videos and I see, police for Trump, and I see thousands and thousands and thousands of cruisers and police officers all marching and voting for Trump, that's good. It's good. It makes me happy. Makes me happy knowing that the enforcers, when the rubber meets the road, are on the right side of history and understand that, hey, we're not your enemy. I'm not a domestic terrorist. Trudeau is. Obama is. Biden is. These are the domestic terrorists. The CCP. These are the individuals we need to go after. We need to liberate the world. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Lots more to come. Like I said, like, subscribe. And I'm going to leave my Bitcoin wallet in the bottom of a lot of these videos. Please, too, also, financially support individuals like myself. Whether it's $2, $5, $10, whatever you can do. And for those of you who can't financially support me, at least like and subscribe. That goes a long way. But come on. If you'll go out today and buy yourself a coffee or $5 or spend a little whatever, throw it to the people like myself. And if you don't want to throw it to me, throw it to someone else in the freedom movement, because you know what? We need to encourage people like myself. What I do when I do these videos, it makes me unemployable in many ways. It makes me ostracized by half the population who doesn't agree with me politically. It puts me in situations where it's hard to make money in the world. It's hard to live and make a way. I mean, just look at people like Stefan Molyneux or Alex Jones or any of the big wigs that have been in media for so long. They were doing good. They were making a lot of money. But then once they all got censored off the platforms, well, a lot of that was a revenue stream. Imagine someone like me who doesn't even have a platform, who's just trying to start out and who's trying to speak out against this stuff. If a lot of these billionaires and these guys with big amount of money, like Miles, the billionaire, Chinese billionaire, let me try to say his name again. Sorry, Miles, if I get it wrong too. Guo Wenguan, these individuals like that, or Bannon, or people out there that have money, send your shekels to the individuals like myself, to the little guys. Because it's the little guys like myself that are just starting into this stuff and who's trying to get out there and speak out, that if we see a donation come through, it makes us feel special. It makes us feel validated. It encourages us to do more. But if every time we do these videos, we don't get any recognition, we don't get any financial support, we actually get ostracized, it's hard. It's not me complaining. I'm taking this. I'm doing it regardless. Whether I make money or not, it's the way it is, because I understand that I have to fight. It's the only option at this point. But it would make us fight stronger. It might make us be more encouraged to put out more content if you guys throw a shekel or two our way. So very easy. Go to Coinbase. Get a Coinbase wallet. You can basically enter your debit card. If you don't have any Bitcoins, you can convert your real cash to Bitcoins and then send your Bitcoins to me. And send your shekels towards my way and help content creators like myself. We need you guys now more than ever. George Soros, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates. Think of how many. George Soros spends millions and millions and millions of dollars each year funding BLM, funding his radical leftists. Bill Gates spends billions of dollars in philanthropy to pass his authoritarian measures. So the evil people have no problem spending money for their cause. Well, it's time we start seeing the people on the right, the Republicans, the freedom fighters, the patriots, the libertarians, the anarcho-capitalists, all you guys who just love freedom. It's time for you guys to start putting your money where your mouth is too. If George Soros can spend billions of dollars supporting funding the radical left, then Miles and Guo Wenguan and all these other billionaires and all these the Koch brothers and all these other billionaires that have money that actually enjoy and love freedom, and the freedom that they enjoy has made them get the wealth that they have, then you better share that with like-minded individuals like myself, or little tiny content creators that are trying to make themselves known in the world. Because George Soros will do it and see the benefit. You need to do it and see the benefit. That we need to get this message out. And I have big plans if I can financially get what I need accomplished. If I had the money and the funding, I would pay for all of my stuff to be translated into China, into Mandarin, the other nationality languages, and get that information out to the third world and into China and stuff like that. Because you know what? I don't only want to wake people up here in the Western nations. I want to reach people in India. I want to reach people in Sri Lanka. I want to reach people in China. I want to reach people in Japan. I want to reach people in the Middle East. Iraq, Iran. You know, these are the minds that we also need to get to. And we're only going to get to those people if we use translation. I understand that recently now by studying a lot of the CCP, a lot of the information coming out of China, is a lot of it's in China. It's a lot of it's in Mandarin. And I don't know Mandarin. So I've had to now use translator apps and people translating for me to understand what a lot of these people are saying. Well, I would like to see a lot of the stuff like, you know, InfoWars, Alex Jones, Steve Bannon, a lot of these freedom fighters, really Giuliani's common sense. We need to start funding these organizations and converting their news shows into multiple languages and getting the message out to not just English-speaking people. So I'm going to finish the video off with this and get back into studying and research, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, stay woke, stay vigilant, and we're in for an exciting ride. I cannot wait to see what comes out in the next couple weeks. If there's any more things that I missed, I'll for sure do another video. And make sure to like and subscribe. You can find me on Facebook at Matt Hunter. You can find me on Twitter at Matthew Hunter. You know, unlike most people, I don't hide myself by anonymity. My name is Matthew Hunter. Everything out there is in public eye. I am who I am. Accept me for who I am or not. I don't care. So if you guys enjoy my work, make sure, like I said, to send some shekels my way, like and subscribe. And we'll see you guys in my next video.